Hello, everyone, wherever you are on this planet. My name is Uche Onyebadi, and this forum is called Cross-Cultural Experience. As you know, I normally invite a guest to share his or her experience moving from one culture to another, and more importantly, what did the person learn from it? So from time to time, I also talk about myself, my own experience, so that we can share and be more enlightened about of our own world. Now, most of the guests I have spoken to or spoken with in this forum, they all talk about, migrating from maybe Africa or less developed nation to the developed world, America, Europe, and all that. And then they are astonished, as a transition. Or if they were from Europe and then they go to the less developed nation, they're also equally astonished what they will encounter. I can't forget the lady who went, I think, to Mozambique, Valerie, and then there was this issue of coming late. And then the lady she was to go out with said, I don't have a wristwatch, so what's your problem? Coming late. Anyway, so we've had a lot of interpersonal experiences, in this forum. But let me just go to something a little bit unique. I'm talking about knowledge gap. Those of us in the academic business, know that knowledge gap is a function of you having access to information. So it is said almost, and there have been studies to show this, that people in the less developed nations do not have equal access to information as much as the people in the developed nations. So if you are moving from a less developed area to the developed nation, Europe, America, the tendency or the expectation is that you know a little bit less. Does that work all the time? Let me share my own experience, and then you can make the judgment at the end of this. In those days when we were in high school, primary school, our teachers almost used to torment us, trying to make us know the world, citizens of the world. And they were now asking us all sorts of questions. I think it was called social science class or whatever it was. Can you name the 5 Great Lakes? Oh, then everybody will say, sir, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Ontario, Lake this, Lake that. And they say, okay, clap for him or her. Who was Margaret Thatcher? Oh, the former Prime Minister of Great Britain. How about Indira Gandhi? Oh, Prime Minister of where? India. Sasirit Sekama of Botswana. Mrs. Bandaranaike of Ceylon. Hey! So they try to get us to know everything, a little bit about the whole world. America, President JFK. You never pronounce the last name, in full. JFK, America. In fact, we used to have a hairstyle called Kennedy style, modeled after JFK. I don't know why we did that. So when they try to teach us, make us know the world. The highest mountain, the longest river, Mississippi, that turned out to be River Nile at the end of the day. Anyway, and so the first time I came to the United States, I was now thinking that I'm now going to the headquarters of people who have all the knowledge, access to knowledge. Boy, was I not surprised? And so I got to Atlanta, to a newspaper in that city, a prominent newspaper. I wouldn't like to mention the name. And I met a journalist who told me, oh, a lady, I've been in journalism for over 20 years. I said, oh, that's very impressive. Now, remember, this was a time when we didn't have laptops, computers, and all that. So if you needed to learn anything, you needed to learn it. You didn't go Google it or go anywhere to get the information. And so I was telling then the lady asked me, where are you from? I said, from Nigeria. She took her some time like, Nigeria? I noticed she was struggling through, where is this country called Nigeria? I said, oh, in Africa. Oh, yeah, in Africa. Oh, okay. She almost, I was astonished. How can you be a journalist for 20 years in the United States of America? You couldn't, I had to remind you that Nigeria was in Africa. Then it also reminded me of a situation where, we were in school and then met another person. Oh, you're from Nigeria? I said, yeah. Oh, no. He told me, oh, yeah, I have so many friends from Africa. In fact, there's one of them. who is yeah, he might actually be very close to your home country. He's from South Africa. I said, oh my goodness, South Africa and Nigeria, next door neighbors. So I had to politely say, no, South Africa is in the southern part of Africa. And then Nigeria is in the where? Western part of Africa. So it's not, they're not very close. So the thinking is that, oh, South Africa, you can just maybe ride your bicycle from Nigeria to South Africa. And then we also attended a conference, and there was a lady who was maybe impressed by the way I spoke. And then she approached me after, during the intercession. And I said, oh, you spoke very good English. How come? I said, how come? That was a language of instruction in schools, from primary school to wherever I got. She looked at me, primary school, language of instruction. I said, yeah. Why? I said, well, you can trace that to colonialism. The British colonized us. So we started learning the language from that time. And how about you? Now, turn the table. How about you? Speaking English language. Oh, that's my native language. I said, is that your native language? Really? And she was a minority. She said, yeah. My native language. I said, okay. If you are a native speaker of English language, what will Anglo-Saxons say? People from England, how will they describe themselves? Learners of English language? Since you are now, you have monopolized the title as a native speaker of English language. Okay. So those are some of the things, that astonish you. How come people who have access to information, everything, how come they know a little bit, not a little bit, less than those of us who are coming from areas designated as developing nations where they didn't have access to information? So when I started teaching, in the United States, I made it a point of duty to ask my students, introduce news quiz every time, because this was a journalism, mass communication class or classes. So I used to ask them, okay, what's in the news? Some of them didn't understand why I was asking what's in the news. What have we got to do? I said, but you're a journalist. You're training to be a journalist and you're asking me why I'm asking you what's in the news. Hey. Anyway, so during, I think it was 2008, Obama's election. And then I think 2 or 3 weeks, to the election, I was asking the students, okay, who is Obama's running mate? Somebody said Henry Kissinger. I said, oh, okay, let's take it easy. I mean, Obama. Yeah, Henry Kissinger. I said, I'm not too sure that Henry Kissinger was Obama's running mate. Then another person who probably sounded more brilliant to himself said, excuse me. And I said, okay, who? The guy looked at me and said, I've forgotten. I said, okay, if you've forgotten, no problem. Now, does anybody, somebody even mentioned, mentioned Hillary Clinton. I said, Hillary Clinton, the running mate? I said, okay, yeah, maybe not Hillary Clinton. Then we started moving all over the place. I'm talking about 3 weeks to the what? Election. And somebody even started mentioning names of prominent Black people. I said, okay, maybe they're coming so close, but this guy is not Black. Then another person said, oh, okay, I know. Jesse Jackson. I said, Jesse Jackson. Obama's running mate. Anyway, so at the end of the day, I had to wonder, so where do you people get your news from? Some of them, in all fairness and in all honesty, said maybe CNN. I said, okay, that's fine. New York Times. I said, that's very, very impressive. But I was literally swept off my feet when a young lady said, I get my news from, I said, from where? Mom and Dad. I said, Mom and Dad? Are they journalists? No. Each time we have dinner, Dad likes news, and then he starts telling us what's in the news. I say, God bless Dad. At least, and God bless Mom also. At least they made an effort to keep you. I said, but, you're now at the university. You need to devise your own means, of getting what's in the news. So that thing really bothered me. And I was straight asking, why? Because of the knowledge gap, remember. If you have access, you're supposed to know more. How come those of us who did not have more access now tend to know more? And it dawned on me that, there's this cliche in America, at least, that all news is local. All news is local. You pick up the newspaper, local news. You listen to radio, local news. You go back and then watch TV, most of the time, local news. Now, I'm talking about a long time ago, before the advent of computers and laptops, as I said. I said, no wonder. If all news is local and all you're getting is local information, then you don't even know what's going on at the next county, which is true. The typical person there has no idea what's going on next county, not to talk about next state, not to talk about next continent. Where is the United States, the nation's headquarters? Some people say France, in Paris. Some people say all kinds of places in England. Where do you come from? Oh, I come from New York. You don't know the United Nations headquarters is in New York City. I said, oh, is it? He said, yeah, that's where it is. Anyway, so all news is local. It's probably one of the contributors to this very narrow. And then also, it also struck me that if you live in the United States and if you live in a place where all news is local, and you are from, say, Afghanistan or from South Africa, the tendency is that you start losing information about where you come from and about other places because all news is local. So unless you made a conscious effort to get news from other places, I bet you in 1 or 2 years, I might be asking you, where is France? And then you're telling me it is so close to Ethiopia. All right, so I wanted to share my own experience apart from the normal, interpersonal relationships so many people talk about, in this forum, to something like, knowledge. How come our people, our professors, our teachers, our headmasters and headmistresses in those, you must be a good citizen, you must know everything about the globe. And so we are reciting everything, capital of Indonesia, Jakarta. We knew almost every capital city in the whole world. We knew everything. Great lakes, great rivers, great this, President this, Charles de Gaulle, France. We memorized everything. Anyway, the whole idea is to let us know that when you move, for instance, how I coped, because this is about what did you learn? How I coped is I just go there. Yes, all news is local, but I don't pay little to no attention to news from other places. Otherwise, you just be just like every other person, especially those of them who ask you, oh, you're from Africa. Oh, so how did you come here? In all honesty, in the spirit of getting to know, and then you tell them, oh yeah, I flew down to somewhere in Europe and then connected another flight and landed in the United States. Oh, do you have an airport at home? I said, but that's where planes take off from. Where is it? All right, this is how I'm going to. Somebody's asking you, you flew down, you're telling somebody you flew down, and they're asking you, so you have an airport at home? Knowledge gap indeed. Thank you. And if you want to be part of this, send me an email, crossculturalexperiences, don't forget the S, crossculturalexperiences@gmail.com. Crossculturalexperiences@gmail.com. And then I can invite you and then we have a chat, conversation, and more importantly, learn something from that experience. Bye for now.